Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
On October 12, 2025, a very important message came from the United States. President Donald Trump said that the war in Gaza was over. He spoke from Air Force One as he flew to Israel. President Trump was very clear. He believed the ceasefire, which means a stop to the fighting, would hold. He felt that people are tired of it and that the conflict had gone on for centuries. He was getting ready to speak in Israel and celebrate what he called a great success for peace in the Middle East. He felt sure that nobody wants to disappoint me by breaking the peace. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a very different view. Just hours before President Trump's words, Netanyahu spoke in a video message. He said that while the release of hostages was historic, the military campaign is not over. He warned of big security challenges ahead. Netanyahu stressed that some enemies might try to get strong again to attack Israel, showing his country's deep concerns. These two messages, coming from important leaders who usually work together, show how difficult the situation is. President Trump's strong declaration of peace and Prime Minister Netanyahu's careful warning highlight the delicate nature of the agreement. It sets the stage for a ceasefire that is very fragile and complicated. Even with a stop to the fighting, old tensions and dangers still exist beneath the surface. This chapter introduces the start of this uncertain peace, where leaders have different ideas about whether the war has truly ended or if the fight will continue. The world now waits to see what happens next in this very complex time for the region. 2. The New Deal. The path to peace was not easy. After a long war, many countries worked hard to find a solution. The U.S. President Donald Trump played a big role. His team, with help from countries like Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey, pushed for a ceasefire. President Trump introduced a peace plan on September 29, 2025. This plan had 20 points. It asked Hamas to do several things: release all hostages, give up its weapons, and give up control of Gaza. Hamas did not agree right away. On October 3, 2025, Hamas gave a partial answer. They agreed to release all Israeli hostages and let an independent Palestinian group take over Gaza. However, Hamas did not agree to give up all its weapons, which was a key demand for Israel. Before Hamas answered, President Trump had given them a strong warning. He set a deadline, saying that if they refused the plan, all hell would break out. After these talks, a big step forward happened. Both sides agreed to the first part of the plan on October 8, 2025. 2 days later, on October 10, the Israeli government officially approved the deal. This started a strict one-day countdown for Israeli soldiers to move and for hostages to be released. President Trump used strong words and personal talks to get this agreement. He believed his relationships with regional leaders helped a lot. His confidence came from his belief that no one wanted to disappoint him. The 20-point plan showed a full vision for Gaza's future, including governance, rebuilding, and regional connections. Support from Arab and Muslim countries was also key for a lasting peace. This final agreement started a new timeline for the region. 3. A high price. The war lasted for 2 long years, bringing terrible pain and loss to many. The human cost of this conflict was very high for both Palestinians and Israelis. Many lives were lost, and countless people were injured, changing families and communities forever. It was a time of widespread suffering across the region. In Gaza, the numbers were truly shocking. More than 67,800 Palestinians were killed during the 2 years of fighting. Additionally, almost 170,000 people were wounded. The war was especially hard on children, who suffered immensely. Over 20,000 young ones died, which means about 1/3 of all the people killed were children. This tragic fact highlights the brutal impact of the conflict on the youngest and most vulnerable lives. Life in Gaza became extremely difficult, marked by a severe humanitarian crisis. There was not enough food, and people faced extreme hunger daily. In August 2025, a famine was officially declared in the Gaza governorate, affecting a huge number of people. 2.1 million people did not have enough to eat every day. Many important buildings and homes were destroyed or badly damaged. Around 60% of all buildings in Gaza were hit during the fighting, leaving vast areas in rubble. The healthcare system almost stopped working, making it nearly impossible for sick and wounded people to get proper help. Clean water was also scarce and often unsafe to drink, leading to health problems. Because so many people lost their homes, they lived in overcrowded displacement camps where diseases spread quickly and easily. On the Israeli side, there was also great suffering and profound loss. The initial attacks on October 7, 2023, were devastating. 1,195 people were killed on that terrible day. Among them were 815 civilians and 36 children. Innocent lives taken too soon. As the war continued, 466 Israeli soldiers lost their lives during the long military campaign. Another 2,956 soldiers were wounded while fighting for their country. These numbers highlight the profound human tragedy and the deep sorrow felt by many Israeli families who mourned their loved ones. The 2-year conflict left deep scars on everyone affected. The ceasefire agreement, therefore, came after a time of immense and widespread suffering, with a truly high price paid in countless human lives and widespread destruction on both sides. 4. The first steps. The ceasefire brought a new kind of quiet to the region. It was a time for practical steps towards peace. The agreement outlined clear actions for everyone involved.
The first major step was the phased withdrawal of Israeli soldiers from Gaza cities. This was a carefully planned process, set to happen in 3 distinct stages. In the first stage, Israeli forces began to move back from the main urban centers. They kept control over certain important roads and security zones. This allowed many Palestinian civilians, especially those from northern Gaza, to start returning to their homes. At the same time, it aimed to ensure Israel's security. This initial withdrawal meant Israel still controlled about 53% of the Gaza Strip. Following this, a complex exchange of prisoners began. As part of the agreement, Israel agreed to release approximately 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. This large group included about 250 people who had been in prison for very long sentences, even life terms. Also, around 1,722 Gazans who were held during the recent conflict were set free. This part of the deal was highly sensitive. Some prominent Palestinian figures were not on this release list. The most emotionally charged aspect was the return of the remaining Israeli hostages. 48 individuals were still held captive in Gaza. For their families, this moment was filled with immense hope mixed with deep anxiety. They had endured 733 days of uncertainty since the initial attacks. The situation was heartbreaking. Only 20 of the hostages were believed to be alive, while 26 were tragically confirmed dead. The status of 2 others remained unknown. These hostages came from all kinds of backgrounds. They were musicians, farmers, elderly residents, and young people. The process for their release followed strict rules. First, the International Red Cross received the hostages. Then, they were taken to Israeli military facilities for important medical checks. Families had to prepare for both the joy of reuniting with loved ones and the sorrow of learning about losses. The remains of those who had died were also returned. The psychological burden on these families had been very heavy. One mother of a musician expressed her unwavering hope, saying, "I know that he's alive, because I'm a mother." This long-awaited moment brought forth tears of profound joy and deep sadness. It truly showed the terrible human cost of the conflict. However, it also offered a small, shining light of hope that peace could finally begin. These initial steps, though challenging, were vital in starting a new chapter for the region, offering a chance for a better future. 5. 2 big leaders. Chapter 5 looked closely at the main leaders in this new peace. One was President Donald Trump of the United States. The other was Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Both leaders played very big parts, but they spoke about the future in different ways. President Trump worked hard to make the peace deal happen. He used a strategy of strong pressure and also his personal connections with other leaders. On October 12, 2025, he said clearly that the war was over. He said this while he was going to Israel. He felt very sure that the ceasefire would stay strong. He believed this because he felt that people are tired of it. He also noted that the fighting had gone on for a very long time, for centuries. Before this, President Trump had introduced his 20-point peace plan on September 29, 2025. He gave Hamas a strong message, an ultimatum. He said if they did not accept the plan, all hell would break loose. His way of doing things mixed these strong demands with friendly talks. His good relationships with leaders from Arab and Muslim countries helped get their support for the plan. He even traveled to Israel and Egypt. He spoke to the Israeli parliament, called the Knesset, and led an important meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh. He believed that nobody wants to disappoint me, showing how much he thought personal trust was important in global talks. Prime Minister Netanyahu, however, faced a harder path at home. Just hours before Trump's big announcement, Netanyahu sounded different. He said the release of hostages was important, but he warned that the military campaign is not over. He also said there would be major security challenges ahead. He worried that some of our enemies are trying to recover in order to attack us again. Netanyahu's government was a mix of different political parties, including some who were very strict. These parties did not want any deal that might help Hamas or release many prisoners. Some members of his own party, Likud, even refused to go to President Trump's speech. They called it a false spectacle. This showed that many people in Israel had mixed feelings. They were happy about the hostages coming home, but also worried about what it meant for security. Netanyahu tried to show that Israel had won, but he also got ready for more fighting. When he said the military campaign was not over, he had several reasons. First, he wanted to make his strict political partners happy, showing that safety was still the most important thing. Second, he sent a clear message to Hamas. If they broke the ceasefire, there would be consequences. Third, it allowed him to keep open the chance for more military action if new talks failed. He even said that if talks broke down, we retain the right to return to the war, if necessary, with the backing of the United States. This showed that while a deal was made, the possibility of conflict was still very much there. 6. The world is watching. The news of the ceasefire quickly traveled the globe. After 2 long years of fighting, many hoped for peace. Yet different countries held mixed feelings about the new agreement. In the United States, President Donald Trump was central to the deal. While he said the war was over, other American officials from the previous government felt both relief and frustration. They were happy fighting stopped and hostages would return. But they felt their earlier work led to this success, believing the deal could have come sooner. In Europe, leaders generally welcomed the ceasefire. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen praised the diplomatic step. She called for all hostages to be freed safely and for a permanent end to the conflict. The European Union promised humanitarian aid and help for rebuilding Gaza. They stated the deal should lead to a 2-state solution for lasting peace. Many Arab and Muslim countries also helped make the agreement. 8 nations, including Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt, gave a joint statement. They praised President Trump's sincere efforts for peace. However, behind this public support, there was some quiet frustration. These Arab nations had asked for changes to Trump's first plan. They wanted a stronger Palestinian Authority and clear dates for political changes. Many suggestions were changed after Israel's requests. One diplomat said their approval was given through gritted teeth, showing reluctance. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan commended Trump for stopping the violence. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stressed that lasting peace was vital for the region. The Palestinian Authority welcomed Trump's efforts but asked for Israel to withdraw fully and for all Palestinian lands to be united. Other parts of the region also reacted. In Yemen, the Ansar Allah movement, which had supported Gaza, spoke out. Their spokesperson, Mohammed Abdul Salam, praised Gaza's historic and heroic resilience. He honored the sacrifices of Palestinian leaders, including Yahya Sinwar and Hassan Nasrallah. As the world watched, many wondered if this agreement truly marked a new beginning or just a temporary stop to the fighting. 7. A new start. The ceasefire brought an end to the fighting, but it was just the first step. Ahead lay huge challenges for everyone. The most immediate problem was rebuilding Gaza. The war had caused terrible destruction. About 60% of all buildings were damaged or completely destroyed. Whole neighborhoods were now just piles of rubble. Essential services like water, electricity, and telecommunication networks were not working. Many roads were also ruined. Experts said that rebuilding Gaza would take many decades. It would also cost tens of billions of dollars. This effort needs more than just money. It needs careful planning and help from many countries. Schools, hospitals, and homes must be built again. But beyond buildings, there is a need to rebuild lives and hope. People need places to live and safe environments for their children. Another very difficult question remained unanswered. What about a future Palestinian state? The peace plan did not clearly say if a Palestinian state would be created or what its borders would be. This made many Palestinians and international observers worried. They believe that a two-state solution where both Israelis and Palestinians have their own safe countries is important for lasting peace. The Palestinian Authority wants Gaza and the West Bank to be united and a sovereign Palestinian state to be established. Beyond building houses, there are big economic problems. Gaza's economy was already weak before the war because of years of restrictions. The war made it much worse. People need jobs, trade needs to start again, and businesses need to grow. This is more than just putting bricks together. It is about creating a stable future where people can live well. The huge task of rebuilding will need strong international support and a clear plan for long-term economic growth. Without solving these deep problems, a true new start might be very hard to achieve. 8. An end or a pause. The ceasefire agreement brought a stop to the fighting in Gaza. For many, it felt like the end of a long, hard war. President Donald Trump declared the war is over, showing his strong belief that peace had finally come. He saw it as a historic success after centuries of conflict. He felt people were tired of fighting and ready for an end. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave a different message. He said that while hostage releases were important, the military campaign is not over. He warned of big security challenges still ahead, fearing enemies might attack again. This difference showed both hope for peace and deep worry about the future. The agreement did stop the bombings and battles, bringing much-needed quiet. This was a vital first step after 2 years of terrible conflict. But the main problems that caused the war are still present. A future Palestinian state is still not settled. Gaza needs huge rebuilding. 60% of buildings were damaged or destroyed, and basic services are broken. This will take years and cost billions. Security for everyone in the region also remains a big challenge, with old anger and distrust still strong. So, was this a true end to the conflict, or just a temporary pause? The ceasefire was a moment to breathe, but lasting peace needs much more than just stopping the guns. It means difficult talks about all the big unsolved issues. Leaders must make hard choices and find real solutions for problems decades old. The path to real peace will be long, depending on these difficult next steps. The world watches to see if this pause can truly become a lasting peace. What do you think will be the biggest challenge to lasting peace in this region?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.